go out and they utilize the Bubba Shot. You know, a lot of people are like, well, I don't use spinning gear. Totally understandable. Well, you know, I'm not like you, Jose. I don't catch small little ditch pickles. I actually catch big old honking swamp donkeys.
Setting the hook with Jose.
What's up, everyone? It's Jose and welcome to Setting the Hook. Today I'm going to talk about a really good technique that actually is just like the drop shot. It's called the Bubba Shot. But before I go ahead and start, you know, if you like some of the videos that we're putting out, the content that KastKing is putting out, hit that like and that subscribe down below. I'd really appreciate it. So what is the Bubba Shot? The Bubba Shot is pretty much the same thing as the drop shot, but it's done with casting gear. Now, some of you might be asking, well, why would I want to do that? Well, I've had plenty of people tell me a few things on the drop shot, and they are valid points. And that's why people, including myself, you know, go out and they utilize the Bubba Shot. You know, a lot of people are like, well, I don't use spinning gear. Totally understandable. Well, you know, I'm not like you, Jose. I don't catch small little ditch pickles. I actually catch big old honking swamp donkeys. And guess what? Okay, cool. A lot of people are like, well, you know, a lot of places I fish is usually down timber, a lot of cover, this and that. And, you know, 6-pound test line isn't going to cut it on a little medium light spinning rod. And guess what? You are absolutely right. That's where the Bubba Shot comes in. So what exactly is the Bubba Shot? You know, it's done exactly like a regular drop shot. But as you can see here, I have it on a casting setup. All right. What are the benefits? You know, so let's talk about the 3 benefits of going to the Bubba Shot versus a regular drop shot. Number 3 is the gear. When I talk about the gear, I'm talking about the hook and I'm talking about the weight. You know, if you live in a place like Oklahoma here where, you know, a normal windy day, it's like 10 miles an hour. That's an okay windy day, but you know what I mean? But it can get real windy. So throwing that small little drop shot weight out there, that little hook and that little bait, it just ain't gonna cut it. But there are certain days when the fish do not want that bait sitting on the ground. So this is where the Bubba Shot comes into place. As you can see there, this is a 3/0 EWG. You know, you can use an EWG or you can use a straight shank worm hook, whatever you choose to do. But the beauty about this is that you can still nose hook it, so you're still getting all of that action. All of that action is still right where it needs to be. And this is a little bit of a smaller of a paddle tail. You can go to a much bigger paddle tail. You can bump up the hook size, everything, and it's great. We talk about the weight. So like I said, a normal, you know, smaller drop shot isn't gonna handle it. So sometimes you need to bump up to a 1/2 ounce like we have here, and it can work just fine. All right, number 2. So I kind of covered it in number 3 when I said about the gear, but the way you can rig this stuff. So let me get a bigger bait here. This is a crawl or a beaver style bait, but it's got a lot of action and it's much larger profile. So sometimes you don't want to, well, you can nose hook it, but you know, like I said, this is a technique when you have a lot of you have a lot of cover, you have a lot of whatever junk is in the water, you want to get that fish. So you can actually just regular weedless Texas rig it, just like that. So that is the number 2 best thing about this is that, see, I'm using a much larger bait. I can utilize it weedless, just like that, and I'm still getting that drop shot, you know, action, that drop shot look that a lot of the fish want. Number 1, the best thing, and I kind of already covered it, but it's the fact that you can actually use a casting setup. You know, 6-pound test even sometimes 8-pound test isn't going to cover it. You know, as soon as that big trophy fish grabs onto that, you set the hook and it goes in, boom, it's going to snap your line. So you can still utilize big 15-pound, 17, even 20-pound on your casting setups and get that fish out of the cover and in the boat. So when it comes to the gear that I use, it all depends. But for the most part, I don't like to use a heavy rod. You know, right now I have it on my Speed Demon Pro jig worm, 7.3 jig worm, and that's a medium, but it's a true medium. You know, you get a lot of medium heavies that are real flexy for being a medium heavy, so they're not a true medium heavy. So a medium heavy. Now, if you do go to a heavy because, you know, that's just more what you're comfortable, that's perfectly fine. But you got to remember, it has to be sensitive. When you're going after these big swamp donkeys, they don't just grab the bait and take off. The smaller ones will grab the bait and take off. But when you're the big fish, when you're the big guy on the block, you don't need to run. So they're just going to grab it and pull. It's the same thing. You're going to set the hook the same way. But you need to have a faster reel. Like I have the Bassinator, that's the 8-to-1, but you can utilize a 7-to-1, whatever you got. I wouldn't go anything slower like a 6.3 or anything like that, because you're gonna get the bait or the fish out of the cover quickly. So as soon as you set the hook, boom, crank it and get that thing in. So again, that's the Bubba Shot. For the most part, when it comes to retrieval, you can watch the video that I did on the drop shot, and you're going to utilize the same things. But the great thing about the Bubba Shot is bigger hook. You can use a bigger hook. You can use a much heavier weight. You can utilize bigger baits. You can do it both weedless or nose hooking it and getting some beautiful action. And you know, number one, you can utilize stuff that you might be more comfortable with, like a casting rig. So again, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Leave in the comments down below if maybe there's some other techniques or something else that you would like me to cover, and I'll go ahead and do my best to do that. Again, this is Jose, and thanks for watching.